What do you think about her tweets?
This is the left 101. When it doesn't go my way, it's racist, and any black man or woman involved in the process who didn't agree with them, obviously they're irrelevant. So that was the diss. Just go wah. Just complain. I mean, that's what children do. They never can accept a decision. And affirmative action the case was even being brought up because Asian Americans felt that they were not getting a fair opportunity. So rich white people didn't have nothing to do.
Oh, you're truly going to enjoy this one, because the universe just tossed out a crossover no one ever imagined, yet somehow everyone secretly wanted to witness in real time. Imagine this. AOC bursts into the spotlight with full energy, passion blazing like a signal fire, ready to unleash a message she clearly believes will shake the world to its core. The entire moment feels like it belongs to her, or at least that's what she assumes, until suddenly, out of nowhere, Tyrus steps in, carrying the kind of sarcasm that moves like a wrecking ball wrapped in sharp humor. In one swift moment, he flips her big dramatic entrance into a roast so unexpectedly fierce it practically deserved its own advisory warning right there on the stage. What happened next was so wild and unbelievable that it almost felt like the kind of scene you'd expect in a movie twist, not real life.
You don't have anything to talk about in terms of merit. You just blame it on rich white people. And it's been a cushion that's been allowed in this country for a long time. And now as you see more, that's the new pillow. My pillow's got nothing on the new pillow of blame rich white people, because you can rest your head on it in any argument. Bring any argument up with me. Anything. Ask me any question. How the Knicks doing this year? Well, why am I supposed to know that? I'm not a rich white person. See what I'm saying? Like,
you're having fun with this, so make sure to subscribe, because it truly helps in ways most people never even think about, and it keeps moments like this alive. Politics has always thrived on big, flashy scenes, the kind where someone steps forward, waves their hands like they're caught in a dramatic soap opera moment, and convinces their supporters that history is being rewritten right there in front of their eyes. And few people lean into this theatrical style more than AOC, who never simply enters a room. She storms in with a level of intensity that practically glows around her, as if she's seconds away from delivering the State of the Union, even when she's only ordering something as simple as a cup of coffee.
Unaffected or are completely out of touch of everything. This is a big country. Some people, regardless of high inflation, are still going to fly to go. It has nothing to do with lower class Americans who are struggling to pay bills, or people just make their decisions. It's just they're so out of touch, and they worry about other things, the wrong things like pardons and perceptions and how they're looked at, instead of like just shutting up, step out of your little bubble. Maybe close the safe spaces, walk out on this crunchy green stuff called grass, and get involved in the world and see that
every word AOC delivers arrives wrapped in pure intensity, each point presented with the urgency of someone warning the entire planet that meteors could crash down at any moment. But this time, she walked straight into a moment she couldn't command, because the spotlight refused to stay centered on her. It shifted instantly to the unexpected star of the night. Tyrus? Yes, Tyrus, the man who can slice through thick political tension with nothing more than one raised eyebrow, firing off punchlines that hit with the impact of a full-force blow and leave the entire room stunned and breathless.
no, of course they didn't read the decision. And again, these are all successful men and women of color who all have educations, who are sitting on top of the mountain calling foul. Like, this is just the par for the course. It is just, what is the narrative? Oh, that's the way we're going with it? But it was nice to see white men get a break. You know what? Because you've had a rough year. They started blaming some stuff on white women. So you guys get a little bit of the feel.
And poor AOC never sensed any of it coming, not even for a moment, even though you'd expect a seasoned politician to recognize the danger of overplaying her hand when a master of sarcasm is waiting just off stage like a quiet storm ready to strike without warning. But instead, she charged forward with absolute confidence, convinced the crowd would leave feeling inspired, enlightened, and maybe even ready to put her face on the $10 bill. Armed with statistics, dramatic pauses, and that familiar expression that practically announces, "I've solved humanity's greatest mysteries, and only I can lead you," she pushed ahead with full force, completely unaware of the comedic chaos building right behind her.
fastest, and we have fan mail, and I just can't listen to those Nate Silvers and these Saliza people just bites into this glorious show. AOC. What? She's kind of fun in a silly but earnest, wrong but adorable way. She's like your daughter when she comes back from her first year at Brown, full of half-baked, half opinions, in need of some gentle, patient deprogramming. But people have to realize new faces doesn't mean new ideas.
She built her entire speech as if it had been lifted straight from a Marvel-style origin story, packed with looming climate disasters, widening income gaps, and unstoppable corporate greed, all delivered in huge cinematic waves that made every issue sound like the fate of humanity was hanging by the thinnest thread. As always, she placed herself at the center as the bold heroine, standing strong against unseen villains lurking in the shadows. And if you squinted just a little, you could almost hear the Avengers theme building behind every dramatic gesture she made. When she lifted her hand at the exact perfect moment, it looked as if destiny itself whispered instructions to her. Yet the audience responded only with polite, robotic applause. The kind people give just to avoid feeling uncomfortable. It wasn't roaring support or genuine excitement, just a courtesy tap, a tiny pat on the back they gave themselves for showing up. Still, AOC gazed across the room as though she had just received a thunderous standing ovation. But overblown theatrics always leave an opening for comedy. And that is exactly where Tyrus thrives. He doesn't haul around binders of stats. He doesn't stretch metaphors until they break apart. And he definitely doesn't need to predict the end of the world for attention. He wields something far quicker and much more powerful. Sharp, raw, unpolished humor that hits instantly.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she responded to this ruling on Twitter as well. She says, if the Supreme Court was serious about their ridiculous color blindness claims, they would have abolished legacy admissions, aka affirmative action for the privileged. 70% of Harvard's legacy applicants are white. SCOTUS didn't touch that, which would have impacted them and their patrons. Does she have a point there?
She used the word ludicrous. That was cool. That was new. But again, it's the same argument. No matter what you're doing, that it's all white people's fault, and it's just such a great talking point, to the point where it's just literally, if it was a dying horse, would say please.
While AOC stacked paragraph after paragraph like she was building a towering structure destined to wobble under its own weight, Tyrus sat back with the calm confidence of someone preparing to topple a Jenga tower, using one perfectly timed, sarcastic tap. But before that moment arrived, it's important to notice just how hard AOC pushed to command the entire room. She leaned into the microphone as if it were her closest ally, pacing across the stage with that overly serious stride politicians adore, delivering every pause like she was auditioning for a TED Talk she desperately wanted to perfect. And each time she waited, expecting explosive applause, the audience instead responded with awkward, halfway claps, the kind that quietly say, "We're not sure if you're finished, but here's something so it doesn't get uncomfortable." You know the look, a mix of pity and polite amusement, like watching a friend nervously try karaoke for the first time while everyone pretends it's going great. The truth is, the more AOC leaned into her own dramatic intensity, the more she opened the door for the one force strong enough to slice straight through it all. And that force was moments away, arriving not with statistics or emotional speeches, but with the unmistakable hammer of humor that only Tyrus knows how to swing.
Introduced a fresh idea or issue in her life. The reason why she gets along with Bernie is because she's like an 80-year-old leftist in a used bookstore. I mean, she may look fresh, but she's as stale as an abandoned futon on the street. It's like, I listen to her, I go, I heard that at Berkeley in 1983. So their problem is, and the reason why they don't have any ideas is they operate on...
The real twist in all of this is that AOC thrives on control, shaping her entire identity around directing the narrative exactly the way she wants, setting the stage, choosing the rhythm, and expecting the crowd to follow along like loyal supporters, clinging to every word she speaks. But humor doesn't follow those rules. Humor refuses to obey structure, pacing, or dramatic storytelling. It strikes fast, cuts deep, and once the room fills with laughter, the serious tone she depends on crumbles instantly like fragile paper. And there sat Tyrus, armed with nothing more than a figurative slingshot, fully prepared to knock out the first brick and send her entire performance collapsing with one perfectly placed quip. The room wasn't tense because her message was stirring hearts. It was tense because everyone sensed a twist brewing, the kind you can practically feel in the air. The beauty of moments like this is that humiliation doesn't always arrive through shouting or confrontation. Sometimes it slides in quietly, timed perfectly, through someone casually revealing how fragile the entire act truly was. That's exactly why Tyrus stands out. He doesn't burst in with rage or drown the room in outrage. He dismantles everything using something far quicker and far more devastating. Sharp, clean humor that lands with the precision of a well-aimed strike.
AOC is taking a break from doing nothing to get into a beef with the Twitter chief. On Tuesday, she tweeted, LMAO at a billionaire earnestly trying to sell people on the idea that free speech is actually an $8 a month subscription plan. That's a reference to Musk's plan to charge people $8 a month for verified blue checkmark status. But he hit back tweeting, your feedback is appreciated. Now pay $8.
The stage couldn't have been set with more dramatic perfection. AOC was fully locked into her performance mode, riding the excitement of her own delivery, completely unaware that the room was slowly slipping out of her grasp like sand sliding through open fingers. The applause had shrunk into polite little claps. The eye rolls were stacking higher than her talking points, and Tyrus sat there, practically glowing with anticipation, wearing the confident grin of someone who knows their punchline is about to land like a knockout blow that the crowd will never forget. And when he finally leaned forward, everything shifted in a heartbeat. But here's the twist. AOC wasn't even in the room to face him, which somehow made the whole moment even sharper and funnier. Roasting someone directly is expected, but roasting them when they aren't present, with that smooth, playful edge that makes people laugh and nod at the same time, that's a completely different level of skill. And Tyrus plays that game like a seasoned professional. That's exactly how he went after AOC, treating her carefully rehearsed performance, not like a groundbreaking movement, but like a late-night improv sketch that stretched on far too long. His first jab hit with clean precision. The idea that AOC can't enter any room without instantly transforming it into a dramatic lecture about civilization being just 3 loud speeches away from total collapse.
Says AOC has 61% approval rating for Democrats, right? The highest of any Democrat unless they've been elected president. So if your new brand ambassador is going to be AOC, then I think it's more than just...
Tyrus joked that AOC probably practices her speeches in the mirror before brushing her teeth, arms flying wildly while random statistics swirl around her, leaving the poor toothbrush looking completely stunned by the chaos unfolding around it. Just that mental picture alone was enough to tear apart the carefully crafted stage presence she tried so hard to maintain. From there, he went straight after one of her biggest habits, those dramatic metaphors she loves to toss into every topic, pulling them apart with smooth, razor-sharp humor that hit perfectly every time. He teased that if she spilled a simple glass of water, she'd probably claim it was undeniable proof of rising sea levels. If her Uber arrived late, then obviously corporate greed was targeting society. And if her phone battery dipped below 20%, that must mean capitalism was collapsing right in front of us. Suddenly, the metaphors she relies on stopped sounding bold, and instead started looking like they were pulled from a stressed-out drama student's notebook. According to Tyrus, AOC could be describing her lunch order and still make it sound like she's revealing a cure to the world's greatest problems. Yes, I'll take the avocado toast, he teased, because nothing captures the struggles of modern life like pricey guacamole. What makes Tyrus so effective is that he doesn't have to exaggerate much. He simply magnifies the tone she already uses, shining a bright light on her habit of turning everyday moments into dramatic crusades until the seriousness cracks into pure comedy.
Explains it. They're not meant for you, right? But then you have to ask, okay, then what is this debt forgiveness? Who is it meant for? And when you look at the data, it's upper, white, middle-class, liberal women. This ain't welfare, right? These are well-to-do people. It's a bribe for Democrats on the backs of plumbers, truckers, and everyone else who actually does a real job, unlike me. AOC is the symbol of the entitled sponge. She complains about student loans.
What once passed as strong leadership suddenly looked more like pure theatrical melodrama, and once you start seeing it that way, there's no way to unsee it again. Tyrus didn't limit himself to her speeches. He moved straight to her social media habits, because AOC treats Twitter like it's her own personal presidential stage where every post must carry the weight of history. He joked that if the Wi-Fi ever went down in Washington, she'd probably declare it the largest attack on democracy in modern times, typing in all caps about a nationwide plot simply because her Instagram Live froze for 2 seconds. With that image planted in everyone's mind, the seriousness of her message completely dissolved into playful absurdity, making her seem less like a political powerhouse and more like a dramatic neighbor who overreacts to every tiny inconvenience. But Tyrus wasn't finished, not even close, because he saved one of his sharpest jabs for the contrast between her constant alarmist warnings and her perfectly curated, polished lifestyle. After all, nothing emphasizes the planet is burning, quite like arriving at a climate event in a full designer outfit from head to toe.
She owns a French bulldog. Thanks to Cat Temp, I know everything about French bulldogs. And one thing I know, they are so expensive. They're more expensive than any college tuition. You got to take care of them. They're adorable dogs. But she owns a Tesla and she owns a French bulldog, and she wants you or your dad, the electrician, to forgive her student loan. That's BS. Turn in the Tesla, sell the dog.
Tyrus pointed out the irony that someone who constantly paints capitalism as the great enemy seems to move through it and benefit from it with remarkable ease. A detail that stings even more because it feels undeniably true. The sarcasm practically shaped itself as he spoke, sharp enough to stand on its own. But his most cutting jab came when he compared listening to her speeches to being trapped in a lecture hall where the professor lost the syllabus weeks ago, yet still insists on talking non-stop. You can't tell where the lesson started, you don't know where it's supposed to end, and somehow you're expected to take notes, like everything is perfectly organized. That became his shorthand for her entire speaking style. Loud, winding, dramatic, and ultimately exhausting to sit through. And the funniest part? She wasn't even there to respond or defend herself, giving Tyrus even more space to stretch out each punchline and twist the moment just a bit more without a single interruption.
I mean, $80 per theater. I mean, I made $80 in a theater, and there wasn't even a movie playing.
Wow. What do you mean?
I don't know. You know, it's no surprise. Who would go see a movie that's the opposite of entertaining? There's nothing entertaining about that. Michael Moore's Colonoscopy is more entertaining than that because there's probably more twists. But it does show you how great it is to be a progressive in a liberal biased culture. She really doesn't do her job, right? She makes movies, she goes to galas, she sits for glossy butt-kissing interviews in GQ. And
by the time Tyrus wrapped up his entire takedown, the polished image of AOC as an untouchable force had unraveled into something much closer to a running joke, the kind that somehow becomes funnier each time you replay it in your mind. Every exaggerated gesture she relied on, every over-the-top metaphor, every dramatic warning about the world collapsing, all of it suddenly turned into perfect material for non-stop punchlines. The real sting didn't come from yelling or confrontation. It came from something far more subtle, but far more damaging. The complete shift in how people viewed her. What once looked like power and confidence now appeared more like a carefully staged parody. And once the audience saw her through that new lens, there was simply no turning back. The change was immediate, and the impact echoed through the room with a force that couldn't be ignored.